Good afternoon. This is a special edition of Faith, Family, and Political Affairs. I had to come in and just have a few words to say about the passing of Reverend Jesse Jackson, who was, as you know, fearless civil rights leader and one of the greatest orators, certainly of my lifetime. Um, so many of us remember, his iconic 1988 speech before the Democratic National Convention. And he, stirred so many people up and got so many people, behind his campaign, and had so many people believing once again in hope, as he said, keep hope alive. And just people were hopeful at that time. And, he was the first African American man to run for the highest office in the land. And so it meant so much to so many. Um, Certainly in the African American community, but far beyond. Um, and his reach continued like that throughout his life. He was always about um, opening up, the doors for all people. He was about social justice for everybody. Um, he had the great organization called PUSH, People United for Humanity, to save humanity. And he would later combine that with his Rainbow Coalition, which was about equal rights and social justice for all people. And particularly the Rainbow Coalition was about multiculturalism and reaching out um, to people from all persuasions. He had so many talents, um, but I believe that was one of his greatest talents. That his reach was far beyond, certainly beyond his beginnings in small town Greenville, South Carolina, where he was born in 1941. He passed, of course, yesterday. Um, Surrounded by family. And one of his sons, I believe it was Jonathan, talked about how blessed they felt that their father was able to live and be alive with them all these years and to pass away as he did among family. Because so many of our great civil rights leaders um, their lives were cut short in the service of our people, but also of our country and even in the world. So I just wanted to mention, a few of the people who have spoken out. Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa. I thought he had some very kind words to say about Reverend Jackson, talking about the time that he came to South Africa um, right after the death of Stephen Biko, the freedom fighter against apartheid. And once Biko died, Reverend Jackson went to South Africa to express, I'm sure, solidarity with that cause. And so President Ramaphosa was just remembering um, the courageous nature of Jesse Jackson that reached far beyond the American borders and across the world. Reverend William Barber of the NAACP, who works out of North Carolina, also had some very kind words to say. He mentioned in an interview with Democracy Now! That he had spoken with the family not long after Reverend Jackson passed, And his wife, Reverend Jackson's wife, Jacqueline, had referred to Reverend Jackson as a lion, saying that a mighty lion has fallen. And Reverend Barber spoke to the importance of a lion to the tribe, to the pride, and spoke about how Reverend Jackson was always reaching out and trying to expand, um, you know, humanity and the embrace of all people. And I thought that was an awesome tribute as well. Um, I just happened to be, when I decided to do this, um, I just was taking some notes about Reverend Jackson's life, and stumbled across references to some of the South Africans who are now in our country. Um, well, we all know of Elon Musk and Peter Thiel and David Sachs. And it was just reminding me of how the struggle continues, that these men came up in apartheid South Africa and are now having great influence in this country, within our government. Of course, Elon Musk had an unofficial role when Donald Trump took office. And so it just reminded that the struggle that Jesse Jackson, Reverend Jackson, devoted his life to continues. And one of his sons mentioned today that the way that we can honor his life is to continue to lift up that struggle and continue to participate and fight for these for social justice and for human rights. I just wanted to mention the names of his children. Of course, his wife's name is Jacqueline. His children are Jesse Jr., Santita, Jonathan, Yusuf, and Ashley. I hope I did not leave anyone out. Um, because they are a family much like the King family, who has allowed their father to be shared with the country and with the entire world. And that, I'm sure, that has not always meant for them uh safety. That like many of the civil rights leaders, they lived under threat. So we owe them a great debt. Certainly we owe it to Reverend Jackson as we all mourn his passing. Um, but we owe it to also to his family, his survivors. And we just here at our forum, we say thank you for sharing his life with us, and for allowing so many of us to benefit from his talents. Certainly, former President Barack Obama is another person who has spoken out about the passing of Reverend Jackson, and very humbly, stated that had it not been for Reverend Jackson as a forerunner, um, his political rise um, might not have occurred, as he, rose to become president of the United States twice. And there is iconic video of Reverend Jackson in tears as, you know, our first Black president won that office. So, I just wanted to come on very briefly um, to say in the coming days that we honor his life and his sacrifice He was one of the key lieutenants of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in the civil rights struggle. He and Ambassador Andrew Young, and of course Dr. King's they say best friend, Reverend Ralph Abernathy. Um, they were there on the balcony of the Lorraine Hotel where Reverend King, Dr. King, was assassinated. And Reverend Jackson was there with him just before that shot rang out that would take Dr. King's life. So he was indeed there from beginning to end of that struggle. And again, we say thank you for that, because without that, many of us would not have our rights, the rights that we enjoy to vote, um, to travel as we please around the country, to use the public accommodations that we are able to use now. There are no black, white water fountains. There's no push to keep us at the back of the bus or coming into back entrances in places of business. And we have Reverend Jackson, Dr. King, um, Ambassador Young, and Reverend Abernathy, among many, many others, to thank for that. So, just quick facts. Reverend Jackson was born in 1941 in Greenville, South Carolina. He made a mark there early in his life, um, by going, doing a little sit-in at a library there that was not accepting African Americans. So then he would go on to North Carolina A&T, um, where he graduated in 1964 with his degree in sociology. And then he would go on to Chicago Theological Seminary, where he would earn his credentials as a Baptist minister. As was customary for many of the leaders of the civil rights movement, they were not only men educated um, in some discipline um, for their undergrad studies, but they would almost all of them would go on to earn ministerial licenses as well. And Jesse Jackson, Reverend Jackson, certainly followed in that tradition. So once again, we honor his life. We feel, we know that he is with the ancestors. He is no longer suffering from that illness that had kept him out of the public eye in recent years. So we thank God for that, for the relief from suffering. And we know that he is now with the ancestors and resting well and has received a warm welcome there for sure. So our loss is their gain in heaven. So we thank God for his life and for his legacy. And once again, express our condolences to his family.